Welcome to the DreamHack Download, everything gaming under one show. I'm your host, Renessa, and I am here this week with Danny Rensch. He is the leading expert in chess streaming and production. He's one of the best chess casters out there, and he's the CCO of chess.com. Danny, what's the best Twitch emote?
Oh, man. Wow, I did not see that coming. That is awesome. I'm going to have to say the Poggers emote, at least traditionally, it led to Pogchamps. And now it's bouncing around and gets a lot of new faces as Twitch is using it. So I love that.
All right, Pogchamps, Pogchamps event, Poggers. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's start this out with who exactly is Danny with what does a CCO of chess.com do?
So the CCO, I think, in other more traditional companies could stand for Chief Compliance Officer, as you said, or even Chief Content Officer, which would probably be the most applicable to my role because I spend my time pretty much managing our content. But for a chess company, it means Chief Chess Officer, which allows me to kind of have my hands in everything. It basically means I'm in charge of kind of steering the chess ship, which is everything from what people have been seeing in regards to our overall strategy to grow the game on Twitch and YouTube and all the platforms that aren't actually chess.com, but also managing the content on chess.com, whether that's our articles or videos or making tweaks to our puzzle trainers and all the things people do to try to get better at the game. So I get to play with all of it. And that's why I'm at the company, is to bring the chess and the content sort of vision. And I think that's the quick TLDR of what I do. So,
chess, we've definitely seen explode in the past year or so. That's just been absolutely huge growth in numbers and excitement and all these new people playing. But let's take it back a little more to the beginning, because you guys have definitely had a hand in that growth. So how did you really get started with chess.com, and how long has this journey been in the making?
It's a really great question, and it's funny. It's very fresh on the brain, reliving this story, partly because of all the success that we've been so fortunate to experience this year. And I would say that from the very beginning, we were always aware of our job was not to just serve the chess community as it currently exists, but figure out ways to broaden the scope, right? And without getting into all the issues there that have historically existed for chess, and that it's felt inaccessible or, hard to reach, hard to cross over certain learning curves, or just, you sort of, maybe sometimes people can appreciate the best in the world, but they see them as sort of intellectually elite in a way that I don't really relate to, or all those kind of things that have existed that we've been trying, I think, from the very beginning with the domain name that we were lucky to have, bringing in so many beginners who just happen to look for chess, we get them first, right? And so it's kind of always been our mission to think about, how do we keep those users around? How do we engage them? And how do we change the cultural barriers between tournament chess players and people who just want to kind of casually learn? And so as we kind of pulled the right levers and did that, I would say that my role became much more like describing what a chief chess officer does. I would say my job is actually the top of the funnel. And what I mean by that is, I think when people think of chess and the growth, they assume that just the domain name or people find us that way. But actually, our job and strategy has always been, we want to remind people or show people who don't even know that they're chess players yet that they are chess players, right? And so that's like looking for opportunities to grow in in video game, the video game industry, and obviously valuing those communities as gaming enthusiasts who might be reminded or potentially shown that they could also be chess enthusiasts. Also just, digital, content platforms, I guess fancy words for like, your YouTube and your Facebook, everything has been all about making chess interesting and accessible and clickable, I guess, if you will. And mostly just because we think that the game itself is already intrinsically so good for people and so fun once you get past that kind of fear. It's a cognitively very, very beneficial game for kids. It's inherently improving critical thinking and consequences of your actions, literally, right? And so chess already does all these other great things. So we just need to get more people in past the barrier of hey, I can play chess, right? So a lot of the strategies we've been doing really since 2015 and 2016, I would say, when we really started streaming on Twitch was around 2015. Were about making the game understandable, accessible. It's in the tone and delivery of how we approach the content. We explain ideas and try to make it edutainment is the name of the game, right? Educationally entertaining, not something that's just, oh my God, chess is hard. But yeah, it's awesome, but it's hard. So I would say that that's been our major focus for years, and it really hit a big home run when, to wrap this up and keep it as short as possible for you, I'll say that it really hit a home run when we launched a format called the Speed Chess Championship, which, unlike any other chess format before then, it has basically a shot clock, right? You think of the NFL, you think of soccer, or, football, the Premier League, whatever. Every sports has a clock, really, that people feel like they're racing against, right? And chess has never had an element that fans could immediately tune in and understand what's going on beyond the X's and O's. Because you would tune in and be like, oh, this position's super hard. How do I relate to these guys? What are they thinking? Now you can tune in and you have a match score, because people are racing to get the match score, and a countdown clock that basically is going to decide the winner. And I think what happened with that is we saw a lot of success on Twitch, and we actually reached number 3, and with 36,000 peak viewers back in 2016. That was good enough for number 3 on Twitch at the time. We did that all on our own and got the attention of kind of the Twitch brass, basically. And without getting into all the details of an agreement that we struck after that, we essentially started talking, and they were like, hey, we love this. We want you to grow. We're like, well, we love Twitch and we want to grow the game. Let's do this. And so a lot of people, I think, would look at it 2020 and some of the things that happened with, the unfortunate circumstances of a global pandemic, which did bring a lot of people online. So that was an unfortunate and an unfortunate growth opportunity for us, right? Fortunate. And then there was Pogchamps, then there was the Queen's Gambit. So there was a lot of stuff, but really the seeds have been planted for a long time to see kind of what we're seeing now.
And chess has always been almost intimidating for me. I grew up with older brothers who trounced me in it regularly because that 7-year age gap really kind of helps.
It's still intimidating for me. So just so you know, it's still intimidating. Yeah.
So that's nice to hear that it's intimidating, but there's a lot of resources out there for it. And now you mentioned, we'll get to Pogchamps very shortly, because this is a very cool thing that you guys are doing. But Queen's Gambit and a pandemic have definitely pushed a lot of numbers your way. I know that chessboards were sold out for months. No one could get it. What did you see happen? I'd love to know on your side. Did you see this huge influx of players? Did kind of Twitch numbers go up even more with the popularity of Queen's Gambit? Like, I assume that was a really huge positive for you guys.
Yes and yes and yes. So I kind of gave that long answer, partly because I wanted to explain what we're going to get into now, that it did have a history and kind of a plan, even though we got lucky, right? There's no way we stand both. Right. Like I said, it was incredibly unfortunate. But the online, I think, content and gaming communities across the board saw massive spikes during COVID. And so certainly there was a benefit there that not just on chess.com, but all of the streamers doing their thing and bringing chess content to the world saw the benefits. And then the Queen's Gambit was like, it was an incredible compounding effect. What I can say is we went from having very rarely crossed 1 million daily active users in January 2020, meaning we had flirted with that before. We were averaging probably somewhere between 875,000 to 950,000 daily active users. So those are unique people, IP addresses using the site. Then we are now knocking on the door to 6 million daily active users. And so that's in just over a year between COVID and the Queen's Gambit. Whatever that looks like, right? So that's crazy when you think that 6 million, almost 6 million different people are at some point playing chess on chess.com. And that doesn't even include the way people are consuming chess, right? On YouTube or on Twitch or on all these other platforms. And it also doesn't include the other chess websites. There are a lot of great chess websites that have also experienced growth. So the whole global chess community as a whole is just experiencing a crazy thing. And so but that number, I think, really puts some context to it. Like sometimes I think about that and go, oh my gosh. Even my kids are playing. No, I say that regardless of all the numbers and all the crazy stuff we've been fortunate about, I was teasing with Eric, the co-founder and CEO, saying, hey man, I know we made it because Nash and Warner, my boys, they won't stop playing. Like they're literally coming to me and saying, Dad, like you got to look at this game report. I won even though I had 15 blunders. And I go, way to go, buddy. Way to go. So, there you go. Yeah.
Making chess cool just in time to make you relevant to your kids. That's
exactly
the perfect timeline. So we've mentioned, Queen's Gambit. We're giving them some credit, but, and we keep teasing it, there's this Pogchamps thing, which really, I think, gets a massive amount of credit for reaching gaming audiences. If you haven't seen Pogchamps, for the people watching this video, Danny, lay it out for them. What does that look like? What is this event we keep hinting at?
It's crazy. So it's obviously the reason I said the Poggers emote has to come to mind, because the Pogchamps, I guess it doesn't really relate directly to it, but in regards to the what is the meme culture? It's like an OMG moment, like, oh my gosh, how awesome is this, right? And so that's kind of describes what Pogchamps has been for the chess world, and I think for a lot of people, it's like, oh my gosh, how awesome is this? Where, what we learned about the demographics of chess, those who engage with chess, and I keep wanting to say it that way because sometimes chess traditionally has only applied chess players, but it's not. Now we see people want to watch chess. They enjoy chess entertainment. There's the Pogchamps kind of brand, which was, look, there's the best in the world at chess, and we do cover the World Chess Championships, and Chess.com has put historically most of its investment into professionals at the top end of the game. But Pogchamps showed that people don't just want to watch the best players. They want to watch people who blunder just like them, right? And part of the beauty of the game is that, and Pogchamps specifically, is you literally never know what's about to happen on camera. And that goes as far as you're about to see someone make a blunder that turns the evaluation of the position from here to here, and everyone sees it. Oh my gosh, he just blew the game. But also, you also, in some ways, with some of the variety streamers we've engaged with, you kind of never know what they're going to do or what they're going to say, right? And I think that the chess world historically, as we said, has had some disconnects between what that experience is like for a chess player, regardless of their strength, and how the audience feels about it. And I think sometimes when you see someone hang a queen and drop an F-bomb, it's funny and it's relatable because you're like, oh my gosh, that's how it feels when that happens to me, right? And it's not all just for those viral moments, but those viral moments became an organic part of the process because everyone can relate to it. Even the best players in the world can relate to it. And so I think that the industry saw something that was really interesting, where people who are not historically chess players all come together around a game they love. And it's okay that it's a hard game, and it's okay that we all blunder, and it's okay that we're not grandmasters at it, and we can still have an amazing event that's a ton of fun. And frankly, one of the things that I'm most proud of, to wrap it up, would to say that I think we could probably guess. I learned to play chess in 1995, 1996, when Searching for Bobby Fischer, the movie, came out. It had Lawrence Fishburne and Ben Kingsley, and it was this inspiring movie. And it was a moment that a lot of my generation, who went on to become grandmasters in my generation, all relate to. We all say, like, yeah, I remember that movie. It was super awesome. It's so cool to think that an event like this, in a year like this, we could have inspired a future world chess champion, or the Queen's Gambit could have inspired a future, women's world champion, and that's really cool to think about for the future generations of chess players.
Now, I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this interview have probably seen chess before, but for those who haven't, Danny is one of the best casters out there. What does a segment of chess casting sounds like? Can I put you on the spot to give us like a little 30-second clip of what it would sound like to listen to a chess broadcast of a really competitive match, not Pogchamps? I think we can all imagine XQC getting frustrated.
Right. Well, I'll do it in my style, which would be something that I'm always trying to give the audience something to relate to. So let's assume I'm watching Magnus Carlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura right now, and they're playing in a match or a game with very high level chess going on, a lot at stake, right? So we might say, okay, and one thing to take away from that last move, 95 fans, is that Magnus is putting his knight in the center of the board, which is super critical for controlling all different areas of attack. One of the mistakes people make is they get focused on the edge of the board, but here you see Magnus, even at the highest levels of the game, is centralizing his pieces, developing all of them toward a common goal here on C7, and that's something you can take away for your own games in terms of why you develop your pieces a certain way. I always say you want to develop a plan, not just a piece or a move, and your pieces and moves should be coordinated together. So let's draw a takeaway from how Magnus just approached that critical position. We know that he might even still be in his preparation, but the idea is still very educational for all of us to see how Magnus is attacking this Sicilian. So, okay, we'll end it there, right? And I guess what I was trying to say is, it's hard without a chessboard, but what I would say is, rather than me, I could have said that same thing like this. move 17 knight to d5 is still theory, and these guys are way in their preparation of book, right? And I'm speaking a language where people are like, oh my God, chess is super hard. They're preparing it for 17 to 30 moves. I can't relate to that, right? But rather than focusing on that aspect, you're acknowledging what they've done, but finding a takeaway that is applicable to your own games, right? Controlling the center, attacking and coordinating toward a common goal. And then yes, you're still not, I would argue we're not degrading the aspects that are super complicated, right, and deep, by acknowledging that it might even still be his prep, but it's a super awesome takeaway for all of us to see that Magnus Carlsen is approaching this critical position in this way. Does that make sense? And that's something we do a lot of. And yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
sorry,
I love that. No, I love that because, like I said, I learned chess when I was little, and but the jargon I've never picked up. I've never, your second form of casting I never would have been able to get into. And this leads me to a question I actually have for our audience that I'd love to see comments from them on. Is I sort of assumed everyone learned chess as a kid. And in watching these past few years, I've realized that's actually not the case. A lot of people get into it as adults and pick it up. So I'd really love to kind of get a survey from our audience about, when they learned chess or what age they were when they started to pick it up. And for you, Danny, I think I'm going to wrap things up here. And I want to get a shout out from you. What is something you're really excited that you want people to go check out? It can just be chess.com. It can be something personal you're working on. Any of those things. Let's let everyone know something cool they should go do and try and check out.
Well, I'm actually going to, on that note, and thank you for that, I would say that people should, if they haven't already, engaged with the different chess content out there, the chess streamers out there. I would encourage them to do that and support our hardworking streaming professionals, because they're the ones who will do all the endorsing of the cool ways to engage with chess on chess.com, whether it's solving puzzles or playing really fast games or even just analyzing, their game report. We've had a lot of fun kind of gamifying the learning experience, right? Where people feel every time that there's something that draws them into wanting to learn their mistakes instead of a feels bad man kind of moment, right? And so I think they do a great job of presenting that. So I would say, from everyone from Hikaru Nakamura to the Botez sisters, Alexandra and Andrea, Levy Rosman, Gotham Chess is someone, if you just Google Gotham Chess, I could continue to go down. There's people that have been doing it for a long time, like just the Chess Channel or the Chess Bras. But there are so many amazing chess content providers. I would challenge everyone watching to know that if you don't think there's somebody who speaks your language or is your vibe or is your crowd, and also playing and making chess kind of cool and enjoying it, I would challenge you that there probably is. And there probably is someone delivering and relating to chess in a way that you could get behind. And so search some of them on YouTube and Twitch and enjoy. That would be what I would say.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Danny. Thank you, everyone, for watching this episode of the DreamHack Download. As we said right at the start, a little tagline, everything gaming under one talk show, which means we have all kinds of fun interviews like this one with Danny, and you're going to find it here on our YouTube channel and also where you listen to podcasts. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and thank you so much for all this awesome insight, Danny.